This is Christina Barton. You're watching Black Tea News. Hello. Welcome to Black Tea News. I'm your host, Christina Barr, and today we're going to be talking about, some more of these Columbia University protesters. One of them, CNN, had quoted in an article, and I don't know if Daily Wire specifically kind of broke this story about just displaying some of the stuff that the student has said, but clearly is a person who wants people to die and has said that he'd be willing to do that himself. Like kill people. So just a warning that there's some deranged kind of a violence going on. So we'll be talking about that. Also, Joe Biden is a big liar, which you guys are all very aware of, but the sort of lies that he tells are just amazing. Especially with the civil rights stuff that he keeps repeating, that he's been busted on busted time and time again, and has had to come out and admit that he has lied. So we'll be talking about that and some other stuff as well. But before we jump into it all, I want to encourage you guys to go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation on the website. It does cost to stream and run on my website and all that stuff. So if you guys can support there, I appreciate if you can give a donation on the site. If you're watching on Facebook, you guys can send stars. Watching on YouTube, you guys can send super chats. You guys can also check out the store, check out different merch that I have. Like I got this Make Crack Whack Again Trump 2024 shirt, which is funny because I didn't even make that about Hunter Biden. I made that about like the crack pipes in the Biden administration. Them, giving that out, I guess they thought it was better than, I guess, people having dirty crack pipes, I guess. Story happened a while ago, but that's why I made the shirt. So it's multiple purposes now, but you guys can check out that and other merch at blacktnews.com. Again, I want to encourage you guys to go to my sister's website, tinastextportraits.com. You guys can look at some of her artwork, and you can get 15% off with the promo code BLACKT15 until the end of the month, which, we are approaching. She's the one who did the art for my book cover, Of Course God is Blatantly Against Abortion. So she's a talented young gal. She has painting, she has text portraits. She does have apparel on the website too. Some odd apparel. I'll just let you guys go discover it for yourself if you're interested in any of that stuff that she's got going on. So I encourage you guys to check it out. I apologize if you guys can hear that dog barking. That is my neighbor's dog that is going nuts out there. I don't know if you guys can hear him. I definitely can. So I imagine that you guys can too. It's not my dog, it's my neighbor's dog. But I suppose that's it. Next month, I will be at Motor City Comic Con if you're in the Metro Detroit area and you would like to come and see some celebrities and comic books and art and stuff. I will be an artist alley myself. So you guys want to pick up one of my books, get it signed, chit chat, take a picture, all that good stuff. And my sister should have a booth right next to me. Usually they set us right next to each other. You can get some stuff and hang out. So hope to see you guys there if you're in that area. Anyway, let's hop to it. Yesterday, before we get into the Columbia stuff, I was talking about the TikTok ban, and I meant to cover, well, first things first. I don't think I talked to you guys about this. I'm going to rewind a little bit. I wanted to show you guys, but I have forgotten to show you guys this thing that happened with yesterday with Biden. It wasn't yesterday, but his teleprompter. I did a TikTok about it. I put it on YouTube Shorts. But if you haven't seen this, it's pretty funny. Because a man does a Ron Burgundy where he just reads everything on the teleprompter, including when he's prompted to pause.
Imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years. 4 more years. 4 more years. Imagine what we can do next. 4 more years. Pause. 4 more years.
So the pause, that's supposed to tell him to stop and allow the cheers to happen. Now, I don't know if I guess I've read from a teleprompter from like stuff I've written that for like candidate stuff when I was like doing like little things for when I was running for office. I don't know if it's something normal where you put in the pauses for folks, or is that just they need to have them so trained to do that? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Because I would imagine someone is just controlling it and just allowing that kind of natural flow of people to chant if they want to chant or whatever. But we know Biden needs all kind of cue cards and other stuff like that to function. So it's very strange. But he did say pause, and the White House transcript actually did not put that in there. They tried to pretend like it didn't happen, and they just act like it was inaudible. But we all heard it. We played it twice. But the White House does that sometimes to cover for good old Joe. So someone who I follow, they don't want to vote for Trump, don't like Trump, wants MAGA to fail, and basically, break the cult, as they would say. They're just over the Republican Party right now. But they share that, man, they're complaining, and they're just like, Democrats, all y'all had to do is just like get somebody normal. You guys are struggling with Joe Biden here. Joe Biden is just so bad, so bad. It's embarrassing to watch people have to pretend like he's got all the vigor in the world, like he's so sharp, like he doesn't have corruption issues, like he's doing a good job, like he's great for foreign policy or the economy. He's just bad on so many fronts, and people have to pretend. Some people don't bother pretending, and they just, all they have is that they hate Trump. But they can hate both of them. But if someone's like, you know what, things gonna be a little bit better under such and such, I guess we'll see who wins the day. But anyway, I did want to address something with the TikTok ban, because I saw people claiming that the TikTok ban was really about people criticizing Israel. And I'm like, where are they getting that? It was just like a conspiratorial thing that seemed to be going around. But there was a clip going around of a senator actually talking about that. And so I want to play his clip. And I still don't think that's indicative of that's precisely why they want to ban TikTok. I think they're concerned about all kinds of rhetoric that they would deem disturbing, but the bill still doesn't criminalize the speech that would be on TikTok or anything like that. That would be a First Amendment violation, but the bill is trying to make China sell off the app so the communists, don't have that sort of access to the app. So this is, I guess, what people were talking about and sharing around.
Well, let's look at where young people are getting their news. Nearly a third of adults 18 to 29, these young people in the U.S. are regularly getting their news exclusively from TikTok. Pro-Palestinian and pro-Hamas hashtags are generating 50 times the views on TikTok right now, despite the fact that polling shows Americans overwhelmingly support Israel over Hamas. These videos have more reach than the top 10 U.S. news websites combined. This is not coincidence. The Chinese Communist Party is doing this on purpose. They are pushing this racist agenda with the intention of undermining our democratic values. And if you look at what's happening at Columbia University and other campuses across the country right now, they're winning.
So people have looked at that video and are connecting the dots like, aha, it's because of the the Jews. And so first things first, what he said about people getting their news from TikTok. Yeah, there's a lot of people getting their news from TikTok. Some of it is credible, and there's a lot of people on the left and the right who deliver news. There's but it's not new that there are people getting their news from TikTok. A few years ago, my sister was working at this store. She was one of the managers there. There was this other girl who came in and it was a manager. She was older than my sister, and she got her news from TikTok. She was a odd woman. But yeah, she got her news from TikTok, and I thought that was disturbing. But you got to just be careful wherever you get your news from, whether it's a podcaster on YouTube or TikTok or news organizations themselves, because they perpetuate things that are not true, like the Russia collusion stuff for a long time. Or I mean, think about the people who watch Joy Reid, for crying out loud. So there's a lot of sources out there who aren't good, but there are some solid stuff that people will have channels on TikTok and deliver good news. And then there's people who deliver stuff, and I'm like, man, I wish something could be done about their platform. There's one particular person, it's not really news stuff that their channel is about, but they say so many things that just aren't true. And people will try to correct them. You'll have pushback and other stuff from content creators, but their platforms just aren't as large, or in some cases where some of the most thorough people who will debunk stuff, they're shadow banned and they don't get a lot of traction. It's just really a shame at what kind of content is promoted on the app and who gets suppressed. As far as this particular example, it's a current example, what's going on in campuses and the news and stuff. You could easily bring up some of the trans stuff and how that has swept across the website, not the website, but the app. So I don't I'm not saying that there's not some of these senators who are like strangely too in the camp for Israel lobby, I guess, or whatever you want to say. I'm not trying to say that, there aren't people with special focused interest in that, but his example of, hey, there's some hateful stuff on TikTok and misinformation getting around, and it leads to people being riled up and going to these college campuses and playing. I don't really disagree with that, but that's not why they want TikTok banned. We went through like the reasons why yesterday. There are security concerns, but they are concerned about the sort of influence that our foreign adversaries has on our population. And he gave an example of a way that he thinks that how they are pushing propaganda is leading to division. And he compared that to outside support offline of how Americans generally feel versus what's going on in the cesspool of Twitter. And Twitter, they had that Osama bin Laden letter trending. And people were like, oh, I agree with Osama bin Laden. Just the dumbest stuff. We talked about it at the time when that was all the rage on social media. So there's some wacky people spreading a lot of stuff with a lot of power on that app. So I just think that was an example. People saying, oh, they're just doing it because people are criticizing Israel. I don't think that's the case, guys. And It hasn't been the case. People were talking about getting rid of TikTok before that. So it certainly doesn't explain why Biden would go ahead and sign the bill, since he's playing footsie with the with the people who are, pro-terrorism. So anyway, speaking of people who are pro-terrorists, there's this kid who got quoted in a CNN article, um who is, I guess, one of the leaders or one of the voices in this, doing these protests, these encampments. It is so wild to me that these students are just packing up their tents and hanging out on the school grounds with these protests. If pro-life people just decided, like, we're going to take over some campuses and just park there and, chant things and show our signs of what an abortion does, or play videos of what abortion does, and, tell people that there's redemption in Christ even after you do this terrible thing. I'm pretty sure we'd be cleared out very fast. I'm pretty darn sure we'd be cleared out pretty fast. I don't think that's something that would be tolerated too much. And I wouldn't encourage people to do it. Some of these sit-ins and rescues and stuff, I understand, but I think um well, if you can, like, do the stuff where you're outside and, there's like mobile sonogram machines. I think Save the Storks is an organization. That's not the only one, I'm sure, of going around and convincing women to see the sonograms of the babies to save them, and they usually change their minds and they get them, help and support if they need help and support. So I'm not saying pro-life people shouldn't be active, but like trying to block doors or anything, I don't encourage doing stuff like that. But be more engaged in the activism of, changing people's minds. um because what good are you going to do if you're arrested and the Joe Biden's administration is coming down hard on folks? So I'm definitely not recommend that we go have a encampment on Columbia University, because again, I don't think that will last very long. And I don't think they let everybody go like, they do in, New York apparently. So it's just interesting how they treat different people. But CNN did an article about what these protesters really want. And they quoted this young man whose pronouns are he, she, and they. I don't know why you get all of the things, but he's got all the things. So what the pro-Palestinian protesters on college campuses actually want, and this fella, the other common threads include demanding universities disclosure investments, sever academic ties with Israeli universities, and support ceasefire in Gaza. We are not going anywhere until our demands are met. Kaimani James, a student at Columbia University, said during a news briefing Wednesday. So this is the fella here. And you can, I don't know if you guys can read that. Be glad, be grateful that I'm not just going out and murdering Zionists. So that's the kind of folks who are, I'm not say all of them, but when CNN quotes someone that says we're not leaving until our demands are met, let's just listen a little bit to his rhetoric.
And so be glad, be grateful that I'm not just going out and murdering Zionists. I've never murdered anyone in my life, and I hope to keep it that way. I genuinely hope to keep it that way.
Now, he doesn't strike me as someone to fear. Just doesn't give that vibe. I'm not saying he wouldn't do something. Everybody can get armed. I'm just saying if it went to fisticuffs, I don't think Sister Girl here is gonna be much of a challenge. Probably, for the average person, that's just my assumption. I don't think it's a crazy assumption. She just doesn't kind of give the vibe like he can throw down. Not at all. So here's a little bit more of uh Kaimani Jones. I'm sorry, James. And his rhetoric.
My name is Sasha Wakadaway. I'm one of the associates.
And this was during a live stream which included a meeting with the school over threatening social media posts. So he just decided to be bold about it.
Directors in the Center for Student Success and Intervention.
I'm Kamani James. I use he, she, they pronouns. Zionists in my DM wanting to meet up and fight. I don't fight to injure or for there to be a winner or a loser. I fight to kill. See y'all in New York, January 2024.
So that's specifically what we're going to be discussing today. Do you see why that's problematic in any way?
No.
Do you think that there's a serious weight in taking someone else's life?
I think there is a serious weight in taking someone's life. And at the same time, I think that taking someone's life in certain case scenarios is necessary and better for the overall world. And so I personally have never killed anyone. Thank the Lord that no one has put me in that position. Though when Hitler died, the world rejoiced. Everyone looks back at that time period and said that Hitler needed to die because he was exacting an immense amount of harm against the world. And so just like that, during the Haitian Revolution, their Haitian slaves had to kill their masters in order to gain their independence. These were masters who were white supremacists. What is a Zionist? A white supremacist. And so let's be very clear here.
A Zionist is a person who believes that the Jews should have an ancestral homeland. Well, they should have their own state and within their ancestral homeland. That's what a Zionist is. Not a white supremacist. That's what it is. You don't even have to be Jewish or white to be a Zionist. You don't. So I said the other day the way that people are acting all over the world, including the US and Europe, and I'm sure there's a lot of Jewish people who've looked around. Oh, I know there are who've looked around on their college campuses and in their neighborhoods or seen the protests and people justifying the violence, or they'll kind of not try to justify the violence, but then they'll be like, but they deserved it though, right? They deserved it. Like anything goes, right? When you're occupied. So the raping and the mass killing, the attacking of the civilians, like everything goes when you've been colonized, guys. So which I've pointed out is pretty alarming, because a lot of folks just throw around colonizer at everybody. So all you white people just better watch out. People feel that way. So if I saw all that kind of violence and animosity in the hearts of people who are supposed to be your colleagues and neighbors or it's people you go to school with or whatever, and you're like, man, they could really kind of switch up and want me dead, or if someone else killed me, they could be like, well, you know what? Did you not deserve it? Like if you just kind of look at the rhetoric and be like, you know what? I understand why people felt like we needed an ancestral homeland so we could have a place of our own and defend ourselves when people would, kill Jews or, kick them out of different places. And so, like, the Jews need a place to call their own. I think that after October 7th, the case for Zionism is probably stronger, from my outside looking in kind of perspective. But I just wanted to correct that idea there that it's Zionism is just white supremacy. No, it's not. They want what many other countries want, including many majority Muslim countries. They just want a land of their own,
I'm not saying that I'm going to go out and start killing Zionists. What I'm saying is that if an individual who identifies as a Zionist threatens my physical safety in person, i.e., puts their hands on me, I am going to defend myself. And in that case scenario, it may come to a point where I don't know when to stop. Does that make sense?
I understand what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. There should not be Zionists anywhere. Zionists are Nazis.
For my identity as a Black queer woman in New York City, obviously, if I'm on the train and I'm sexually assaulted or harassed in some way, like I may turn around and slap somebody, right? Doing and saying that versus saying that, you fight to kill. And you made a comment earlier where you stated that you may not know your own strength behind why, or you may not have the resistance to stop. Right? That is kind of like what I'm taking from what you were sharing, that it could get to that point.
Okay, both of them have taken a break, everyone. So these are two Black women. I just wanted to throw that out there. So I'm not too keen on going to, but these are two Black women in the meeting, just in case y'all couldn't tell already. But these are two Black women. The meeting's a joke. They definitely were hoping that I was gonna walk back the I fight to kill. Your initial letter from your office mentioned that this meeting will determine if it needs to reach or go to a disciplinary hearing. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'll be being notified about in 24 to 48 hours.
That, and it can also be that we need additional information. All of our letters are standard, so it depends on kind of like everything that you disclosed to us and what we discussed.
Right. Okay then, well, thank you.
No problem.
A lot of people agree that Hitler needed to die in order for world order to move forward and in order to establish some inkling of world peace. And so if we can agree as a society, as a collective, that some persons need to die if they have an ideology that results in the death of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, if there are people like that who exist, shouldn't they die? Why would we want people who are supporters of genocide to live? I'm confused. Zionists, along with all white supremacists, need to not exist because they actively kill and harm vulnerable people. They stop the world from progressing. Oh, okay. Thank you. What? Thank you. And so be glad, be grateful that I'm not just going out and murdering Zionists. I've never murdered anyone in my life, and I hope to keep it that way. That meeting was so dumb. I actually kind of hope they do kick me out because I've been meaning to travel to South America. Obviously, the United States would never support the murder of Netanyahu, but imagine how many lives would be saved if possibly, right? Because we all know that the replacement will probably, but
Israel has a unified government. His political rival, they're all on board with defeating Hamas and stuff. So this idea of people wanting to deflect to Bibi as if he's the problem. I'm not saying that Bibi does everything right or whatever, but in trying to stop the annihilation of the Jews, they're on board with that. And him mentioning Hitler a lot, bro, you're like the pro Hitler in the scenario. Your buddies chatting from the river to the sea, like what do you think's gonna happen? Even Norman Finkelstein, who I've talked about a little bit, and so he said some egregious things after October 7th. Who he had the attitude, and he is a Jewish guy, but he's like he doesn't like the Holocaust sort of lobby. I don't know if lobby is the right word, but like the continuation of using that. He doesn't like Israel's policies, and but he's said some things that I would say were quite hateful. His take after October 7th was pretty much like, you deserved it. And Candace Owens put him on her show, and I thought their conversation was pretty egregious. Like he, denied, well, he didn't believe at the time that there were people who were raped, and that there was activity going in the hospital with the terrorists and other stuff like that. So he interesting guy who Candace didn't really push back on, but he was encouraging people to stop using language that which they immediately just start using it anyway and didn't decide to listen. So if he's like the voice of reason for some of these folks, it's not good. And I don't think all these people, I mean, these videos of people asking which river, which sea, and people don't know. So not everybody has this sort of understanding of how radical perhaps their rhetoric is. This person is obviously saying, let's kill people. I don't know if you asked him legitimately to explain what a Zionist is, that he would actually know what a Zionist is. I don't think he'd actually be able to do that. But yeah, he's not walking back any of his violent remarks at all. Someone said I have the London look. Thank you. Someone from Twitch. Got some couple Twitch people. Anyway, let's finish out this video. I know obviously it's clipped. You can watch. There is a full stream, and he apparently recorded this himself, which is pretty amazing. I did this live himself with this meeting. It's just crazy to me that there's, if you're in college, you're adult, not obviously as mature as you can be, but that there are adults that are making these decisions that you would assume would have some kind of repercussions later on life for them. And I'm not saying people can't turn around, but since people can turn around and get some sense later, you would just hope that people would just pause about making such radical statements and have such radical behaviors like this young man / her, they. He's got a lot of pronouns. He's got a lot of pronouns.
Philosophically speaking, the death of a maniacal genocidist like Netanyahu in Israel, his death would theoretically mean that many people would live. Zionists, they don't deserve to live comfortably, let alone Zionists don't deserve to live. The same way we're very comfortable accepting that Nazis don't deserve to live, fascists don't deserve to live, racists don't deserve to live, Zionists, they shouldn't live in this world. If we're truly in it, and when I say in it, if we're truly living life and living in this world in order to achieve peace, the existence of Nazis, white supremacists, Zionists, these are all the same people. The existence of them and the projects they have built, i.e. Israel, it's all antithetical to peace. It's all antithetical to peace. And so, yes, I feel very comfortable calling for those people to die. And with that being said, Kamani is signed out. See you in New York real soon.
Okay. So I would, I'm not saying anyone shouldn't take that stuff seriously and you shouldn't get kicked out or anything like that, but I would like to think that he's not serious, and much of that is bravado. Again, he doesn't really strike me as someone, if we were blow for blow fist, that if he got into a couple fights or whatever, he just doesn't strike me as a person who's probably going to be coming out on top. But no, Zionists don't deserve to die. Again, it's just a belief that Jewish people should have a state in their ancestral homeworld. Again, you don't need to even support the war in Gaza. You don't need to like Bibi to be a Zionist. You can be Jewish and not Zionist. But again, after October 7th, I can see why a lot of people felt like, oh yeah, we should definitely have a place of our own. Just like people felt that way after the Holocaust. But even going on saying racists don't deserve to live, he doesn't strike me as a person who's not. he doesn't strike me as that kind of person who's not guilty of that sin himself. But one thing about living in the United States of America, hateful people, who wear their racism on their sleeve, are absolutely awful and terrible. But you know what? If you, I would hope that most people can just be cordial with each other at the very least. And, I'll pray about God dealing with your heart to get rid of some of that hatred that you have, which I'm sure is mostly inspired by ignorance. But, people have the right to, people say love is love who you want. People have the right to not like who they like either, too. So, doing actual like acts of violence and harassing people, other things like that. There's illegal activity that you can be arrested for. So, he's entitled to his feelings of not liking folks. But if it, doing the whole encampment stuff and trespassing and that stuff is obviously not cool. But I don't know what's going to be the end result, because even when they arrest these people, they just let them go. And these people feel entitled to be able to say this stuff, do this stuff, and make an unsafe environment for different students. So to me, it's just so amazing that people feel emboldened to say such things. Because when I feel like, who raised you? Who raised you? Why are you embarrassing your mama and your daddy? That's what always goes through my head. Like, you ain't had no good home training. You embarrassing them in front of other people. That always just goes to my head when I think about these folks. But you might look back on that one day and say, oh my gosh, I wish I didn't say that. I wish I didn't act in that way. And I hope that's the case. I hope this person has a encounter with God and, just radically changes. Clarence Thomas, as in Justice Clarence Thomas, was a radical. He was a radical. His documentary, the story about his life, Created Equal. I think you can maybe watch it on Amazon, maybe. But I know it's on Daily Wire Plus. That's where I watched, on Daily Wire Plus. And it went through his life and growing up, and it's a pretty fascinating story. I've talked about it before, but basically he was really disillusioned by, at one point in his life, by people not speaking out about racism. And particularly he was upset about the church, um, the Catholic Church, not sticking up in the way that he thought they ought to. And he just got really radical. And some of the actions that he took, he just at one point couldn't really recognize himself and how out of hand it got. And he realized how much hatred he had in his heart. And he had to have a come to Jesus moment and say, God, I need you to take this hatred out of my heart. And, he had a change, and obviously he had a philosophical change in life too. And now he's this great justice. I know a lot of people don't like him, but he's I like him. So but his story is pretty remarkable. And it's funny because so many people will dismiss Clarence Thomas, like, as if he's not a black dude, or as if he didn't have some kind of past or life, or doesn't understand this, a lot of the things that they claim he is overlooking or whatnot. But no, he experienced those things. He just had an evolution and got different perspective, and had to look at different ways of solving problems, as opposed to just being angry and causing a ruckus. So I would just encourage more people, even if you don't like Clarence Thomas, to maybe seek out that documentary or read a little bit more about him, to get some more perspective. So anyway, pretty interesting. So let's move on. Let's go to Joe Biden. So looks like there's some trolls over in the Twitch. Anyway, he was on Howard Stern, and he said some things that weren't true. Shocker. About how he saved people as a lifeguard, 6 people. Not true. That he received salacious pictures from women in the 70s that the Secret Service handed to them, which secrets he wouldn't have had that kind of detail at that point in time. He was arrested as a kid while standing with a black family on their porch as people were protesting desegregation, which Joe Biden has claimed lots of things about sticking up for civil rights, and that not being the case. He's had to apologize and, say that he wasn't out marching after he claimed that he was out marching, and but he was involved in how people were thinking. But even after he had to come clean, way back in the day, and we're talking about like when he first ran for president, when he was a much younger man, he still repeatedly told lies throughout his lifetime as vice president and as president about his involvement in the civil rights movement, which just wasn't the truth. And to me, it's crazy that so many people just give him a pass on constantly lying all the time with this stuff. It just things you can verify very quickly about his lies. And then he also talked about his football career. But here's a couple of Joe Biden lies that he told.
I learned a lot, and I made a lot of friends.
Did you ever save anyone's life when you were a lifeguard? Was anyone ever drowning?
Yeah.
You did?
Yeah, well, half a dozen times, usually younger kids, but...
You do the thing with the whistle and then jump in the bathing suit? And
you got it.
No kidding.
Yeah, there's a big pool. There were 7 lifeguard stands.
Oh, wow. See, that would define my... I would brag about that everywhere I went.
Well, by the way, I did it up on Lake Ontario, too, when I was in law school. But look, one of the things that...
Well, you saved a dude's life when you were in law school? You were still doing the lifeguard thing?
Yeah, lifeguards, people just need help sometimes. It's not like it's so heroic. I learned a lot, and I made a lot of friends.
Did you ever save anyone's life when you were a lifeguard?
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to repeat that one.
I got put in that 10 most eligible bachelors list.
Because you were a United States Senator, you were a catch. Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
and a lot of lovely women, but women would send very salacious pictures, and I just give them to the Secret Service. I thought somebody would think I was, and I just.
So, yeah, it wouldn't have really happened then at that point. I don't doubt that there were. He used to make jokes back then. There was I don't know if it was Letterman. He was on his show. He made some kind of joke about the ladies, and he's like, "Hey, I'm a senator. Like, he can score any kind of chicken stuff." And that clip was going around at a time where people were discussing Tara Reid's allegations about Joe Biden, because apparently Tara Reid's mother once called into a program. I think it was maybe a late night program, asking questions about what she should do because her daughter was being like harassed by a senator. So some people really don't find Tara Reid credible, but I know there seemed to be more evidence that something happened with Joe than the stuff what happened with, the Kavanaugh allegations and stuff. And it still like bothers me to this day that when Joe Biden was asked by Mika on Morning Joe about Tara Reid, and because they said she filed some kind of report and it would have been in like his library or something. And he's like, well, why would I unseal that? Because there's things that would be cannon fodder in a campaign. And I'm like, are you just going to let that go? That Joe Biden's like, there's a lot of things that if I just released that, everyone would use it on against me in the campaign. I'm like, shouldn't we see those things if that would change people's minds about you being president? Like, I understand that you wouldn't want to release it, guys. I get that. But why would you say that and let us know? Again, because Joe Biden can say this stuff because he doesn't care about there's repercussions. He doesn't think there'll be any. So anyway.
And I looked at my mom. I said, honey, you haven't said anything. She said, Joey, let me remember. True story. She said, remember when they were desegregating Linfield, the neighborhood? There was, 70 homes built at one suburbia. And I told you, and there was a black family moving in, and there was people who were down there protesting. I told you not to go down there, and you went down. Remember that? And you got arrested, be standing on the porch with a black family.
Right.
They brought you back, the police. And I said, yeah, Mom, I remember that.
Okay.
But for example, I remember starting off playing Catholic League football, CIO football.
By the way, I don't think a lot of people know that you were a star receiver in high school. You were the first string guy. You were the guy who caught the ball.
Runner up in state, scoring.
Wow.
So no, he was pretty good at football. He wasn't as good as what he claimed. So yeah, just a couple of Joe Biden stories. Not as obscene as his uncle being eaten by cannibals, but just some more stuff out there. Oh, Joe. So funny thing that I find amusing. Some of you guys can't see because you're watching on other platforms, but some folks on Twitch had popped in, which I don't usually get people who pop in from Twitch, but I think it's so strange when people do jokes about my gap. I'm like, why does that bother people? Because it's, and I've said this before and I said it again, it's just so strange. It's like the number one thing. And growing up, that's just never been an issue in my community because, the gaps were seen as something that was good, like like even a beauty mark and stuff people would say, or what, I don't care whether you think I've been marked with that or anything like that, but it's just so bizarre. It's very, thank you for noticing. I inherited from my daddy, who I love very much. Congrats, you have eyes. People are very weird, very, very weird. Very, very strange. Very weird. So I don't know why Joe Biden has those sort of inclinations where he just has to keep lying like that. But I don't know how much he can control it at this point. I think it's pretty much just taken on a life of its own. And I guess it is what it is. I don't know where all the fact checkers are out today. I mean, I've seen people on the right bringing it up. I don't know how many people on the left are really pointing all that stuff out. And I think it's interesting where he'll go have conversations and won't really do press conferences and sit down with the media and really be challenged. I think this election cycle, you're more likely to see him talk to, I don't know, maybe he'll do more celebrity interviews and so on to reach out and get those kinds of votes. But sitting down and for serious interviews with journalists, they're not going to do that a lot. It's going to be very controlled because when Biden goes out there, you don't know how bad it's going to be when he has to face the media and how well he'll even be able to talk. So, which is interesting because they give him a pass on so many things. So I would think most of the media that he sits down and would talk to, the interviews would go okay, unless he's just that bad, which we know that he is. Another thing that I thought was very odd and tacky from Joe Biden, he got the Kennedy family to endorse him, and he had him on stage at one event. But he also put out an ad of everybody talking about the endorsement. And to me, this is so strange. You have a family member who's running for president, and they're just all in this sort of way dunking on RFK for Joe Biden. And I don't know. It just seems really tacky to me. You guys can let me know what you think.
My name is Joe Kennedy.
I'm Carrie Kennedy.
Troy Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy Townsend.
Chris Kennedy. And I'm here to proudly endorse Joe Biden.
Joe Biden. Joe Biden.
Our future is on the ballot in a way in which we haven't seen in generations.
The only way to win this election is for everybody to go out and vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
When I think of modern politicians in our country in this century, I think Joe Biden is the RFK of his generation.
Believes in democracy, believes in human rights, believes in the freedoms.
This is a president who embodies the Kennedy legacy.
My name is Joe Kennedy.
I'm Carrie
Okay,
Kennedy.
so-
Troy Kennedy.
Kathleen Kennedy Townsend.
Auto replay. So that's the snippet that Joe Biden shared of everybody saying the word fluff. They believe in democracy. They believe in freedom. I don't know about that, but who doesn't claim that they believe in democracy and freedom? Or at least a kind of democracy, or I mean, we're a representative republic, but whatever. I would disagree about the freedom. It depends what kind of freedom you're talking about. And she said human rights and believes in freedom. One of the reasons why you have RFK, who is running, and at this point has qualified for several states, so he's gonna be an issue for Joe. Maybe he'll be an issue for Trump, but at this point, you know, he might be more of an issue for Joe in siphoning ballots away from Joe, maybe people who normally vote for him. I think Trump would have less to worry about if he wasn't so I'm the father of the vax. I got the vaccine out and it, saved up, it did all this stuff and blah blah blah. He won't even acknowledge people who may have been harmed for it. It's just like the greatest thing ever, and he doesn't get enough praise for it. etc. Blah blah blah. So there are people who don't like that there's no sort of reflection from Trump and don't expect any accountability from him. And if that's like one of your main issues, you're like, okay, well, I'm not voting for him. You might vote for Kennedy. I recall when Joe Biden wanted people to be indoors and wear the masks and do the vaccine passports, and he did his unconstitutional OSHA mandates so the businesses could force employees to get the jab, or have to, well, I guess they'd be forced to have to keep getting tested, where they swirl that swab up your nose and hit your brainstem or whatever. They go up pretty far, I'm told. And you'd have to pay for that your employer is not responsible for paying for the test. So basically, the goal was to break your will, using the employer to have to just go ahead and get the vaccine, even though it didn't really make sense. Why? Because the vaccine didn't stop you from spreading COVID. So everyone, if you think the testing was that important, you should have had everyone continuously testing, not just the people who were unvaccinated. So the mandates didn't make any sense. It was really just about breaking people's will and making them get the jab. So, but Joe Biden would go on TV and say, this isn't about your choice or your freedom. That's what the president of the United States said. He said, it's not about your choice or your freedom. So it's pretty laughable to see the Kennedys say, oh, he believes in freedom. Does he now? Because he didn't then. He didn't believe in bodily autonomy then. He believes in bodily autonomy when a woman wants to kill her baby. And maybe that's what they mean by human rights. It's just, these big words that they're not being too specific about. And granted, it's a short video, but there's no policies there. It's just really generic stuff. So they didn't really give an explanation in the snippet that he's passing out for folks to be like, oh, I shouldn't, support RFK. Let me save democracy by voting for Joe Biden. But what a trash thing for your family to do. And they don't like the stances that he takes with drug companies and vaccines and other stuff like that, and some things that they view more conspiratorial. And I get that, but again, I don't see good reason to vote for Joe Biden. You can make cases, I guess, not to vote for the other person, but to go out there and pretend like you're saving America by voting for Joe, that's cringe. This video was cringe for me. Anyway, thank you guys for joining me today. Please go to blacktnews.com, check out different content on my website, articles, videos, etc. If you like what I do here, please consider leaving a donation at blacktnews.com/donate, because it does cost to stream, run my website, all that stuff, so you guys can support. Appreciate it. You guys can check out my merch, like My Money, My Business. We got this cool Frederick Douglass t-shirt here. This says the Constitution is a glorious liberty document. And so we got other stuff as well. It is Friday, so if you guys have a nice weekend, if you need something to read, you guys can always check out my stuff. I have 17 books that are published, soon to be 18 books that are published. Finished a book. I'm plugging away at the editing and so on. So happy about that. Again, next month I'll be at Motor City Comic Con. So if you guys are in the area, you guys can come and see me at my booth. If you guys go to tinastextportraits.com, you guys can look at my sister's stuff, and there's a discount code that is BlackT15. If you guys are interested, I think I have her, trying to pull up her website. Tina, you can put your link in the chat if you're still watching, but it's tinastextportraits.com. I thought I had a banner with her stuff on it prepared. I do not, but it's tinastextportraits.com. The promo code is True I'm sorry, not true. It's black tea 15, black like the color, tea like the drink, and you get 15% off on different work. She's got paintings, the text portraits, and all kinds of stuff. So, and consider also, getting a she does commission too if you're interested in that. So she does really good work. Really good work. If you're unaware, she did do the book cover for, of course, God is Blatantly Against Abortion, where she drew that and then she put in the computer and then made it look like an oil painting. So she did a great job there with that hand of God reaching out to the little baby. So appreciate it. She's working on a children's picture book for me, and be happy when you guys get to see that one day. I wrote it inspired by my nephew, some of the stuff that he would say as a little toddler, and he's like a big young man now. Anyway, thank you guys. Enjoy your weekend and be safe out there, and I'll see you guys on Monday.